We are so proud that of all the places Secretary Redmond could be, he's chosen to be here with us. Because through his words and his actions, he truly understands that when we change Texas, we change this country. And when we change this country, we change the world. So let me present to you, delegates, Secretary-Treasurer Fred Redmond.
Texas. Please sit down. First of all, I want to thank Rick for that overly kind and generous introduction. Rick made me sound so important. I don't know about y'all, but I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. I don't know. Okay. But look, it's great to be here in Round Rock. That's where we at, Round Rock. And it's great to be with all of you. It's an honor for me to join you for your constitutional convention. And as Rick said, I go back with this Labor Federation, this state of Texas AFL-CIO. I go back to the days of John Patrick. Me and John started off as presidents. We got elected the same year as local union presidents. John in Houston, me in Chicago, Illinois, where I grew up. And we formed this bond, this brothership, this kinship throughout the years. And it was through John that I first met Rick and great leaders like Becky Moeller and others here in Texas. But I want to say this about Rick Levy and your Secretary-Treasurer, Leonard Aguilar, and their great leadership that they provide every day on behalf of the Texas AFL-CIO. They do a terrific job advocating for all working people. And that's right, let's give it up for them. And engaging with every community. You know, between Rick and Leonard, they gets it. They understand the value of the labor movement, but more importantly, they understand the value of every worker in the state of Texas. And I want to thank them for their leadership. We look at Texas as a model for what we do around this country at the AFL-CIO. And on behalf of myself and our president, Leah Schuler, I want to thank you and Leonard for your great leadership throughout this state federation. Thank y'all very much. And to the state fed staff and union leaders and activists, the people who wake up every morning and go to bed every night thinking about how to advance workers' rights and grow the labor movement in the Lone Star State. We want to thank you for your dedication, for your solidarity. It is you that you wake this country up every day and you put it to bed at night. Our police, our firefighters, our EMTs, our school teachers, public sector workers, oil refinery workers, all of you. You are the people who make Texas click every day. You are Texas. It's not Greg Abbott. It's not those folks. It's you. It's you here in this room and your members. You are the true lifeblood of this state. And you're doing a fantastic job against tremendous odds. And look, I know it hasn't been easy. You know, we've had our work cut out for us these past few years. These past few years have been one of the most challenging times in our history, especially here in Texas, where you've had to deal with one of the nation's most anti-worker governors leading one of the most anti-worker legislatures. But the good thing is Texans are resilient. You're tough as nails, and you are not afraid to meet the challenges head on. And that's what you do. You resist the worst legislation toward workers. You reject the worst of humanity. And you were there when the working people of Texas needed you the most, providing aid and support for the most vulnerable. You know, it's really hard to imagine when this part of the country has been in the grip of a record-setting heat wave, when the whole earth is in a heat wave. We're coming off a month. Think about this, that the scientists are saying it's the hottest month ever. I can't wait to get out of here and take this shit off. It's hot, y'all. You know, but then here in Texas, just think about it. It was just 2 years ago, right? It was just 2 years ago when this state was in the middle of a deep freeze. Massive power outages, failing infrastructure that left so many families in freezing temperatures and in the dark. But thanks to you, union members, you were there for each other. You provided warm clothes, you provided drinkable water, and you made the difference to so many. That's what makes our movement special. Because time and time again, the Texas labor movement has shown workers all across this country the meaning of true solidarity. What we can achieve when we gather together and when we stick together. You know, you have shown what we can achieve when we have leaders who will stand with us and fight alongside of us. I mean, leaders like those in the Texas Democratic delegation. Remember, they left the state a couple of years ago. They did everything they could to prevent a dangerous and wrong-headed voter suppression bill from passing. Y'all remember that? It was a losing battle, and they knew that. But that's the kind of loss that will eventually win this war. It's leaders like Representative Cesar, who helped draw national attention to yet another dangerous and wrong-headed law signed by your idiot governor. That's right. I would like to see this governor do his job without water in 100-degree heat. I'd like to see him do his job under those conditions. Maybe then he stops signing these truly sadistic bills and pieces of legislation. Planting razor wire in the Rio Grande. I don't know what that is. But what I do know is that is not immigration policy. That's not immigration policy. It's barbaric. It's a vendetta against immigrants, against American workers, against everybody who built and loves this state and this country. Texas, I'm here to tell you on behalf of the entire labor movement, we're not going to take it. So we are going to do what we do best. We're going to organize. We're going to build a bigger and more effective labor movement. One that fights for workers and a workers' first agenda so that more people can know the life-changing power of a good union job. We're building a movement that stands up for our democracy and strengthens it every day. We're building a diverse and inclusive labor movement that builds power through solidarity. And I know we can do it. And it starts here in Texas. You know, we have an incredible opportunity in front of all of us to build an economy and a future that works for all of us. where workers can share in the wealth that they help to create every day, where workers can have affordable health care and take care of them and their families, and one day retire with the dignity and respect that they deserve. That's what we're building in this labor movement. And the only way that we can do that is with our state federations, with our local labor bodies, with our local unions. Everything, and I mean everything that we stand for, it begins and it ends with all of you. You are the engine, our force. You give us the reach and the infrastructure that no one else has. We're the only institution, think about this, we're the only institution in this country with the network to reach workers where they live and where they work. No political party has that. No political candidate have that sort of infrastructure. You connect with your members, the voters, and their families. The people who hold the power are the people that you connect with. And you earn trust, and you build on that trust, and you find common ground. You turn union members into union activists. And building and growing these connections, they pay dividends when it comes to mobilizing and organizing around legislative work in our states, on contract fights and strikes, and beat back attacks on our rights and our democracy. And the best way to build our power and to counter these threats is through organizing workers. Now look, we all know that the labor laws in this country is broken. They favor corporate America. And we need to fix our labor laws so workers who want to form a union can form a union through a fair and free election without fear of retaliation and intimidation from union-busting consultants. And yet, despite these odds, when we look at what's happening in America, workers are standing up. They're standing together. They're organizing their workplaces. Like the nurses at Ascension Senton Medical Center, and the tech workers at a Google subcontractor, and so many others. Workers are rejecting unfair contracts. And in record numbers, they're going on strike. And those same nurses at Ascension, they're not messing around. They're walking out of the hospitals and they're kicking off the largest nurses' strike in Texas history. They're sending a clear message. They're sending a clear message. And they need all of our help and support, and I know they're going to get it from this room, from this Labor Federation. Don't mess with Texas nurses. That's the message that they're sending. You see, I know the kind of solidarity and support that many of you have been giving to members of the Writers Guild and our folks at SAG-AFTRA. This is a strike that has captured the nation's attention. America is taking notice how these writers and actors are taking a stand against the greedy corporations that made record profits during the pandemic. And every day, the American public is finding out that the labor movement is the solution to low wages and unsafe workplaces, to discrimination and growing inequality. The labor movement is the answer. And more Americans are finding that out every day. 71%, these are reputable polls. You know, this ain't no fly-by-night stuff. I read these numbers on a Fox News poll. Think about it. I'm not saying they're reputable, but on this occasion they told the truth. 71% of Americans support unions. 71%. And, you know, it's this kind of opportunity that gives us a window. And we have to take advantage of it before it closes. We have to grow. Organizing has to be at the center of everything we do. That's our muscle. To run an effective political campaign comes with our ability to organize. It maximizes our influence on member-to-member campaigns. It gives us more power on the picket line and at the bargaining table. And you know, last year at the National AFL-CIO Convention, we announced the formation of the Center for Transformational Organizing to be a central place where we can collaborate and innovate and share resources on organizing efforts that will make our entire movement stronger. Through our CTO, as we call it, we got public sector workers, public sector unions, working with private sector unions. We got building trades working with public sector unions. We have came to the conclusion that all workers deserve a union. A rising tide lifts all boats. No longer are we resisting the arguments about jurisdiction and what union they're going to belong to. At one time in Alabama, we was organizing RWDSU. The retail wholesale distribution workers was organizing Amazon workers in Alabama. 28 unions sent organizers to that campaign. Not because they was trying to get members, but they realized the importance of those members to have a union. You know, this Center for Transformation Organizing is where we bring unions together across industries to organize workers and entire companies. This is a central hub where we can focus our attention and resources on emerging sectors like clean energy, which is another huge opportunity, as you well know. And this is one of the key states. When we talk about clean energy, wind turbines, solar power, this is the state that has the opportunity to open up hundreds of thousands of jobs. And you've been leading the way with the Climate Jobs Project, working toward the creation of good union jobs in wind and solar, in methane migration, and the hundreds of thousands of jobs coming down the pipe in this clean energy sector. And the Biden administration, they're supporting this work, investing in America and investing in America's workers. And we have an opportunity to set the standards for these hundreds and thousands of jobs in the clean energy sector and throughout the supply chain, in infrastructure projects and advanced manufacturing. You see, all of these jobs generated by these federal investments can be high-paying jobs with strong labor requirements. Good union jobs. That's what we all want for all jobs. And if we could just get this right, and if we all work together, these investments will make a positive impact in our communities for generations to come. That's what we do. We not only look out for ourselves, it's up to the labor movement to turn these investments into good union jobs that our children and our grandchildren can enjoy. You see, I believe that one day, our kids and our grandchildren, they're going to hold us accountable for how we responded at this moment. How we responded with this window of opportunity, with all of these good, clean energy jobs coming online. How are we going to respond? And we know that in order to make sure that those jobs are good union jobs, it's not going to happen on its own. It's up to us to make sure that these investments land in our communities and in our cities in the right way. And it's on the labor movement to make sure that we bring in folks who might have not had the opportunity to access a good union job, especially women and people of color who may not have thought about a career in the building trades. To organize workers in right-to-work states and places where the laws are against us. It's up to us to make sure that these life-changing federal investments grow this movement and bring as many people in as possible. Make it more diverse. Make our movement more welcoming. And bringing people from the margins into the center. Not just in organizing, but in everything that we do. And if the United States labor movement is going to realize our full potential as a force for progress, our state feds, our CLCs, our area labor federations are going to be the key. You see, again, our movement is only as strong as you are. And we're working to make sure that you have the resources to maximize your impact, whether that's in organizing or mobilizing members or tackling some of the big social issues of our time. Look, when President Schuler and I was elected, we made a pledge to grow this movement, to bring as many people in as possible. Our pledge was to make this movement more diverse, more welcoming, and bring people from the margins into the center, to make sure that racial and social justice is in everything that we do. And our Racial Justice Task Force is central to our pledge. Our task force, which I have the honor of chairing, we are bringing together leaders throughout this country from communities of color, labor leaders, the LGBTQ plus community, and more for critical discussions on racial and economic justice issues. Our priorities include making sure that we are advancing racial justice in all of our outreach and programs, that we're addressing our country's history of racism in the criminal justice system, and opening up pathways for young people and people of color to enter leadership positions. This is part of the work that we all need to do. And this work is never done. All of us know the kinds of opportunities a union apprenticeship can offer, how it can be the first step in a life-changing career, but it can only open that door if people know about it. And a lot of folks, especially women and people of color, don't realize this pathway to a good union job is available to them. Those doors haven't always been open in every zip code throughout this country. And that's one of the reasons why at the AFL-CIO we partner with the Chris Gardner Foundation's Permission to Dream project. And this partnership will help us connect with the next generation of workers and let them know about this vital and accessible path to economic security. And in doing so, we can change the labor movement. We was just here in Austin earlier this year. Rick was there with us, along with Leonard and some of you in this room. We was here this year. Several of you joined us at a couple of schools with career and technical education programs. We had union members come in and talk to these high school students about their experiences as trade unionists, about apprenticeships in the building trades, and how these apprenticeships can be a path to a good union career and how it can be life-changing. I'm not talking about a job, I'm talking about a career. And these high school students heard that it's more than better pay and benefits. It's about dignity and respect. It's about taking pride in your work. It's about being part of something larger than yourself. It's about living and communicating our values. That's part of our work in the labor movement. And we taught those students, we talked to them about what unions can do. We talked to them about how unions fight discrimination and bias, and how we're closing the gender and racial wage gap, how we fight for workers to receive fair share of the wealth that they help to create. We talked to those students and told them how unions fight injustices at work and in our communities, how we make our communities stronger, all of our communities. And we talked to them about how a collective bargaining agreement is the single most powerful tool to make sure that all workers are included, that workplaces are diverse and acceptable, that there's equity in hiring practices, pay and advancement opportunities, and that workers gain the skills needed for the jobs of the day and the jobs of tomorrow. Look, that's what motivates me to get out of bed each day and every morning. And I know that's what motivates you. We need to show more people the doors the union can open. It is our job to make the best possible unions and the best possible workplaces for all workers. It's our moral imperative to organize and build a movement that brings people of color and those who have been marginalized into the fold. Look, I take this stuff personal. Forgive me, but I take it personal. See, my story is similar, or probably the same, as a lot of your stories. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was one of 4 sons born to a man and a woman whose parents, my grandparents, were sharecroppers in the state of Mississippi. And in 1952, they got married, they decided they wanted a better life for their kids. So they moved to the south side of Chicago during that great migration from the south to the north. They didn't want much, but they wanted a better life for their children. And they wanted the best that America has to offer. So they came to the south side of Chicago. My father, he did every kind of work that he could do. He stocked shelves in the supermarket. He pumped gas. He was the janitor in the building that we stayed in to get a break on the rent. My mother, she was a domestic. She woke up every morning, took 3 buses to go to a place called Winnetka, Illinois, to cook folks food and clean their houses. Came home in the evening, and I used to see her sitting on the side of a bed, soaking her feet and reading the Bible. Never complained, because she believed that she could create her and my father a better life for their kids. We grew up, we didn't know anything about being poor. I remember on Fridays, they used to collect money for the local orphanage. One day, one of my brothers went to my mother and said that he needed a quarter for the poor kids. And it was at that moment when Mama sat us down, had to explain to us, y'all are the poor kids. Don't get this shit twisted. Okay? That was my life. This is my story. You know, Mama, she used to shop at the Goodwill, buy Christmas and school clothes. On Thanksgiving, we didn't eat Thanksgiving dinner at 3 or 4 o'clock. You know, we used to wait for Mama to get home. She done cooked other folks' Thanksgiving dinner. About 7 or 8 o'clock at night, she'd get off the Halsted Street bus with the bags, with the leftovers, and then we had our Thanksgiving dinner. That's my story. We went to the free clinic, stand in line all day to get our vaccinations for school, because we didn't have health care insurance. And then I was 9 or 10 years old when I personally went through a human transformation in my life. Mama stopped shopping at the Goodwill. She went to the Goodwill to drop off clothes. My father was able to save and buy a brand new used car. Okay? For the first time in my life, we didn't go to the free clinic. We went to a doctor's office. I was 10 years old, the first time I ever went to a dentist. I didn't know what was going on. And then my parents saved and bought their first home. And then I found out later that the difference in my life came because my father got that first union job. Okay. So this is personal to me. And it is our job to give all workers throughout this state the opportunity at a life-changing union job. And in doing so, we don't just change workplaces, we change our communities. We change our state, and we change this country. This is important work. Work that we have to do. It is work that can only be driven by our state and local bodies. Look, America's future truly depends on you and this labor movement. So Texas, I just want to stop by and say, let's keep moving forward. Let's build that future together, because I know we can. Because when we're together, there's nothing. I mean nothing. As long as we stand together, there's nothing that this labor movement can't do. Thank you, and y'all have a great convention.